Hello, everyone. Hi, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Kamaria. I'm also joined here by my colleagues from the wellbeing team, Greta and Maya. So today's session is going to be by Shikala Kumar from GEMS Modern Academy, and she's going to talk to us about staff wellbeing and how her school have really come up with interesting ways of sustaining staff wellbeing. And, she has a lot of interesting practical things to share. So we're really looking forward to that. As you know, this session is part of the Wellbeing Festival that it's been happening since the beginning of March until the 25th of March. And as per the rest of the sessions, if you want to ask any questions, there's a chat feature at the top. You can just click on it and ask your questions, and my team from the wellbeing, my colleagues from the wellbeing team will respond to your questions. We'll also have a question and answer towards the end of the session, so you can have time to really engage in the conversation, ask Shikala any questions that you have, and we'll read them out loud and get your questions answered. I'll now let Shikala introduce herself and take over. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kamaria. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm at work. It's the last day of last week of the academic year for some of us in Dubai. And it is also that dreaded time of the day, the afternoon slump, the pre-lunch slump, when we are all struggling we have a couple of hours to get through before evening. So we are going to warm up a little bit, and I have a couple of things that I want you to do. It would be nice if you had your cameras on. There's no compulsion, but so your first task, a couple of tasks. The first is I want you to look around you, open up your handbag or laptop bag and pick out that one thing which just energizes you. There's that one thing in your laptop bag or your handbag, and whatever it is, it's a symbol of energy for you and positivity for you. And if you can display that at the screen, in the camera, that would be excellent. Is anyone brave enough to show us what's that one thing?
Actually, they're not able to show their cameras, but I'm going to join in and show you something that I have in my handbag.
Okay. Oh, that's great.
I'll tell you what this is. It looks very old and really almost ruined, but this is a book I was given. It's a prayer book that I was given by my friend in my second year of university. So I've had this for like 10 years or more. And she gave it to me at a very difficult time in my life. And ever since then, it's got many prayers that I use on a daily basis, but it's also been a symbol of comfort and positivity in my life. So this is what I have.
All right. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. If there's anybody who'd like to write in the chat, you're welcome to do that, or else Kamaria will be the only one doing the rest of the tasks as well. So here's your second task. Look around you and pick up any object of that one color which just boosts your mood. Anything around you, any object which has one of that one color which just boosts your day. It lifts your spirits. If you can't demonstrate it, at least just put it in the chat, and maybe Kamaria can just call out a few of the colors that are coming up.
Can I pick up Greta next to me? She boosts up my mood, so I can put her on the screen.
All right, perfect. Are we getting any colors yet? Greta, Maya, Hind, you can put it into. Is there a color around you? I'll show you mine. This is, and that's the reason I'm wearing this pink, fuchsia pink actually. It's my absolute go-to color to pick me up at any point of the day. And here's the last. Are there any colors in the chat box, or I hope it's not too gray a day for everybody? And last, a quick run to the door of your office, run up there and tell the first person you see standing there, I'm having a great day. Come on, just get up. outside, run to the door of your office, and the first person you see outside there, I'm having a great day. Kamaria, Greta, Maya, you can say it in Hindi, you can say it on screen. I'm having a great day.
I'll say it to Greta. We're having a great day.
Having a great day.
Great day. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being such sports. I wish I could see you, but we'll just have to take it from here. So can you see the screen, Kamaria?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
All right. So now that we are nice and warm enough for the session, today's session is a topic that is quite close to our hearts as educators, because it is about the well-being of teachers, and it's a disclaimer that the pandemic has brought this to the forefront. But it would be wrong to say that it was only the pandemic. We have always, when I say we, I'm talking about us all as educators, as KHT, as the provider, school leaders, school teachers, all of us have always known, and it has become very cognizant that teacher and staff well-being is paramount and crucial to student success. Having said that, there are a lot of things that schools have put in place. Having said that, there does appear to be much more to go. And this afternoon, I have a little time to talk about what should really be our focus be. How do we go about ensuring teacher well-being?
I think there's a little bit of an issue. We cannot see your slides. Are you displaying the?
Okay, I am. I'm just.
Okay. They're there, but they're not changing. So if you could just share again.
Oh, can you see the iceberg?
Yeah. Okay, so try and change it and see if it's.
Actually, I will change it in a minute. I thought.
Okay, sorry. We will just. Thank you. Sorry.
No problem. So this afternoon, I just want to give we are in a deeply reflective process in our school as well. There are certain questions we're asking ourselves, certain things we have done. So really what we want to share this afternoon are some insights that we've gathered, some practices that we think have worked, and the reasons why they've worked. And we hope that this will be one among a dialogue that really needs to pick up even more in volume. So the first question when we hear the word teacher well-being, or when we ask people, schools, what do you do for teacher well-being? We have images or practices such as this. And my question to you is, when I say teacher well-being, is this what comes to our mind? This, meditation at work, yoga at work, or my personal favorite, bench presses at work or fitness at work. Is that what teacher well-being is? And the answer is, it is partly essential. Certainly workplaces and school environments have become infused with more care and concern, especially around the physical health, because of the connection between physical and mental well-being. Definitely schools have practices now in place where they regularly engage with teachers using yoga, using meditation, using physical fitness, giving them treats from time to time. But that's not all. According to research by Amy Roberts, teacher well-being is when a teacher is flourishing in their workplace as an individual and in relationships with others. Some alarming statistics came up in a study conducted in the UK, where they said 46% of teachers go in to work when they're unwell, rising to 54% for senior leaders. And this is a significant point. And ask yourself, when is the last time you took a day off because you were unwell and not felt guilty about it? If it's taking you some time to respond to that question, I can understand, because I can't remember it either. And this is a particularly important definition among the many definitions of teacher well-being, because it indicates that perhaps just because a teacher is turning up to work on time, meeting the deadlines on time, teacher completes the tasks, is always smiling and cheerful and bubbling with energy, does not necessarily mean the teacher is well. So then what becomes our parameter? What will tell us whether the teacher is really coping or not? And sometimes, especially if there are school leaders in the audience, you might connect with this point. You have a teacher who suddenly has a breakdown, suddenly falls sick, and we're trying to wonder, but he or she is doing everything so well. So the model of well-being that you see in the corner of the slide here seems to best explain this. As long as somebody is able to, true well-being comes when somebody is able to manage, to balance both the resources with their challenges. So despite several challenges, if a teacher has certain resources, psychological, social and physical, then they will be able to balance. So it is not, so while teacher well-being is not the absence of illness, it is also not the absence of stress, because realistically, that is difficult to attain. It is a highly dynamic profession. It is a extremely agile profession. So not being stressed about it is not a reasonable target. But in order to ensure that they flourish, perhaps what they need are challenges, but they also need resources to manage those challenges. So this is a definition that's particularly connecting with us, because it means offering teachers the challenge as well as asking resources, offering them the resources to meet with those challenges. I'm sure we've all seen something like this. This is our result of the adults school adults well-being survey. Now, this was our result 2 years ago. We were very happy with the 13.3, the consistently thriving segment. We were also very happy with the 38%, because in connection with the model that I just spoke about, it meant that despite various struggles, 38% of our teachers are able to manage. That means they have the challenges, they have challenges in their lives, but they also have the resources to manage or to balance those challenges. The part that really shook us and made us ponder and sit back was the not feeling bad, just getting by at 46%. Now that is where we sat down and said, okay, what we need to do is to take a review of what it is that we have been doing in our schools and what it is that we need to keep and what needs to change. So my first response to the title, how do you make teacher well-being less gimmicky, is that you have got to sit down, take a look at the data and really study the data. And while we celebrate what's working, it's really about asking tough questions around what's not working. So what are some of the things that we did? I'm not going to get into this because this is a very self-explanatory causes of teacher stress. But we sat down to brainstorm and take a look at what really could be causing teacher stress. And there are the usual, as you can see in the image, demanding parents, rise in student demands, lack of time, it's always time. But there were some that emerged that really made us ponder. For example, are we allowing teachers to feel more appreciated? Do we have a culture of celebration? Are we making sure that does everybody know what's the culture of celebration? Do people have equal access to opportunities? For some reason, these kind of conversations, these are the questions that started coming. When we had the odd teacher who seemed to manage everything, have a breakdown, the question as a leadership team or the school leadership asked is, does this teacher need help? How do we know that? Who do we have to start empowering so that this particular teacher can manage with the expectations? And it turns out that these questions are heavily linked to what is organizational culture. And data from research, and again I'm quoting the same research, which I'm very happy to share at the end of the webinar. Data from research conducted shows that organizational culture has a key link to well-being, with more than 42% of individuals in that particular study stating that their organizational culture has a negative impact on their well-being. So, questions to ask ourselves. What's our culture? What role does well-being play in our culture? How often do we talk about teacher well-being? How often do we plan about it? Is there a difference between planning for it, or do we have a strategy? Now, a strategy is a set of plans. Do we do something just at the end of the term in appreciation or when term begins? Or is there something more ongoing? And while asking these questions to ourselves and in preparation for this particular webinar, we also found certain other aspects. Before I come into that, I do want to talk a little bit about, so what are the things that we are doing that can spark joy? So while we're looking at the culture in our school, what are the things in our culture that result in joy creating moments? And as I'm saying this, you're welcome to put down on the chat. Somebody, either Maya or Kamaria, will read them out. But I also want us to take a moment to think, what is that one thing in my culture, in the school culture, that sparks joy? I'm going to give a minute, actually. I'm going to pause here and give you a minute to probably put that down. Think about it. What is that one aspect of my organization's culture that sparks joy? Perhaps a response or two could be read out.
We had, okay, I think this was before. We had someone who said purple, but I think this was before.
Okay.
We don't have, let me just check again. No, we don't have anything new yet.
Okay.
Don't be shy, everyone. You can post.
So a simple practice or a organization or an aspect of organization culture that sparks joy. So I'm sure people will, I think the afternoon slump is worse than I thought, but I'm sure we'll get some points going. But something that I'd like to share here is that we have a practice of no matter what the occasion, we have a little practice of if it's a whole school meeting, there is a birthday song being sung to the teacher, and one might think, but that's so basic, but it isn't. And we've had really quiet teachers sometimes get very emotional because it will be a meeting with all teachers and there would be somebody singing a birthday song. The whole school is singing a birthday song for them. So a little culture of celebrating that, celebrating small successes, especially of people who are quiet. For me personally, that is.
Sorry, Shikala, we have one.
Yes.
Where someone wrote, when we share great lesson ideas.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much. When you share lesson ideas, it's like total lifesaver. But I do want you to also think about perhaps something that is outside of your classroom, something in the organization culture that sparks joy. I love it when.
So someone else said spending time together as a team outside of work.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yes, spending time as a team outside of work. Do we have one more?
We have one more, meetings being cancelled.
Yes, that is true. And thank you for that. I do know that silently it'll be like, okay, the meeting's called off, too busy. And you're like, okay, that's great. Yes, there are these joyful moments. Sometimes they're planned, sometimes they're not. But the question to ask ourselves here is, how do we have more events like this which spark joy? We did have an event some days ago, where we quickly asked teachers what they particularly feel about. It was an International Obesity Day, World Obesity Day, and of course we had some the usual things. The doctor, the clinic, they had a BMI test, they had teachers come in, but we decided to do something fun as well. So the counselors in the staff room went about asking teachers to create a very short TikTok video on what their most go-to high protein breakfast. Somebody else came up with what is that one drink that you would swear by as a detox drink after a whole week of vacationing. So what we're suggesting here is that a strategy of carefully and consciously infusing more joyful moments. And that brings us really down to what I was talking a little while ago. Are we doing things on an ad hoc basis? And this is a question that schools and as leaders, we have to ask ourselves. If we are to really look at making more people thrive and flourish, we have to do things on a more regular basis, and we have to do things in a more considered fashion. And as I was mentioning, while all the conversations that we have been having at our school and in preparation for this webinar, this particular framework is something that I'd like to share with everybody. In a study by Gallagher and Roberts, a very, very useful study for actually early childhood educators, but now being used. The results were so profound that it is being shared. It can be used as something that to understand how teacher well-being can be enhanced as well. So how do we use this framework here? The framework really is to take a look at what are the individual factors. If we look at individual and contextual factors that are responsible for teacher well-being, what sort of individual factors do you think will play a role in teacher well-being? So I'm going to ask, while we will not go through all segments, just a little bit of interaction here on, and again in the chat, are there any personal factors, or what personal factors do you think can be enhanced so that teachers feel for teachers' well-being? What sort of personal factors do you think are important for teachers' well-being? We'll just take a couple of responses. What personal factors are important for teacher well-being? Would either come in the way or need to be developed, or which help teacher well-being? For me, I'd probably say being disciplined. I was just telling a colleague this morning that she's so disciplined, not only in her work, but in her diet, in her exercise, in the way she speaks, in the way she interacts with everybody. And her discipline helps, and she has quite a reputation for being a well-balanced individual. And so for me, I think that personal factor of being disciplined plays a major role in teacher well-being. Do we have a response, or I will move to the question, the point I really want to discuss?
We do have a couple of answers, rewards and resilience.
Yes, absolutely. Rewards and resilience, absolutely. Resilience absolutely is a personal factor. And in the teaching role, yes, being rewarded, your work being acknowledged and accomplished, that will be an individual factor. Does anyone want to mention what might be a contextual factor, a situational factor? Any situational factor that plays a role in teacher well-being? Okay, so I'm just going to focus on it, and maybe when we have responses, we'll come back to this. So the area that we really want to talk about, so while we're looking at the conceptual framework and we're taking a look at what do we have in our school that is working. So we've had most of our teachers have finished their teacher licensing. We have several teachers. Most of our teachers have their masters. Many teachers are pursuing Microsoft accredited instructorship. Many others are doing Telal workshops. Many others are doing leadership. We have a teacher right now attending a leadership conclave. There are other teachers who have pursued their Harvard state education degrees online. So getting accredited, and the school making adjustments. One of our senior teachers has been conducting Generation Global for several years. And last year she decided to undertake a training for being an international, for getting certified in conducting these sessions internationally. However, that meant that on one day of the week, which was actually a very crucial day, she would have to forego 2 hours. And that was a crucial day with departments. But because she was pursuing that special permission was given to her. So a system which allows teachers to pursue their professional aspirations is definitely linked to better sense of autonomy. That is one example of a contextual factor, contextual adjustments being made to improve teacher well-being. But what we wanted to focus on, again, is coming back to leadership. So when it comes to leadership, what might we be doing as leaders or in our systems, and processes? What might we be doing that might impact teacher well-being, and how can we improve upon that? Studies show, and here's a bit of research that I want to share with everybody. It's a great piece of research that I'm happy to pass on. But research does seem to suggest that what really is the heart of teacher well-being is autonomy. A sense of control, a sense of knowing that I can control what is happening around me, and I have the resources that I need for this. But also it plays, but also in this autonomy, it's about how much of say do they have, how much of choice they have in their daily lives and in the work that they do. The term here is...
Shrikala, we had someone post just a bit before this slide saying that being well informed about procedures and where to get support.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, because that is, while I was going to start with workload well-being, organizational well-being. So that point is absolutely. So when we're talking about organizational well-being, which is a key aspect of being well at work, it means, am I well informed? Do I know what's happening? Do I know it in time? Do I know what to do? Do I know what is expected? So questions for school leaders or school systems really is about, are expectations clear? Are instructions clear? Are plans clear? Are they released on a timely basis? Because the more, because if these elements are taken care of, what is being enhanced is a teacher's sense of control of the day. So if you hear, and we've all been guilty of this, my God, it's a buzz. The day flew by in a blur, and that's great. But if we start to hear that very often, possibly it's a moment to sit back and think that, why did it just zip by? I mean, one thing led to another. So watch out for some of these phrases. And I'm going to take 30 seconds and maybe just 2 responses. Just put down what is that one phrase that you say very often, which indicates that the day just flew by and you didn't have a clue what you were doing, as in you were just moving from one thing to another. And it's probably because meetings happened at the last minute, or something's changed last minute, something else came up, you had to clarify. What's the one phrase that comes to your mind? Something that you say to yourself, you've said it to a colleague. I can share one phrase if you like. Today was crazy. I realize I say that a lot. Today was crazy. And I'm sure you'll pick up on the responses in due time. But coming back to work well-being. So when we're talking, so those points were about organizational well-being. The points I want to make are about workload well-being. Is a teacher able to manage? is a teacher stretched too thin? Research also suggests that it is often the most enthusiastic teacher, the one with the most potential, the one with the most skills. That teacher is also the one who's probably one of the last to come and tell you, I'm very, very stressed. And there are two reasons for this. One is their workload, because so these are questions to ask. Because this person is enthusiastic and does a great job, are we assigning more or are we spacing it out? And if so, is this person asking for help?
We have a couple of answers, Shrikala. So we have one person saying long day, glad it's over. And another one saying just overwhelming.
Just overwhelming, absolutely. Okay, and the others are welcome to, I say this in my class a lot, when students have the same response, I say just like the response. If you agree with that, just overwhelming, long day, glad it's over, can't wait for the weekends. The other day somebody was saying TGIF. Do you know what that means?
Nope.
It's thank God it's Friday.
Okay.
So while these are normal parts of our lingo, but as an organization and as part of organizational culture, the use of certain phrases used often like this might indicate not just whether teachers are tired or stressed, but it might be a point. These are points for us to dig deeper. Is it about task clarity? Is it about number of tasks? Is it about timelines? What's really the issue here if these phrases are something that we are hearing very often? And another very important component of work well-being is student interaction. Our work is about kids. So our work is about student interaction. But the nature of student interaction plays a key role in how well they feel. So I just want to narrate two things over here. It is found very often that for teachers have their certain age groups where they feel comfortable and they feel they can work well with. And sometimes when they move out of that age group, it might be a source of stress. So I had a teacher who was teaching a grade 12 and she's a really good teacher, very punctual, very dedicated with her deadlines and her work. And one day she just came to my office and she had tears in her eyes and she said, I can't take this class. And she takes them once a week for a PSHE lesson. And I was shocked because she had tears in her eyes and we sat her down and spoke about it. And she said, while we had the long discussion, that particular class had a group of very strong, very vocal, very intelligent and erudite girls, but who were very clear about their opinions and how they voiced it. This particular teacher actually taught another section, but was taking this class once a week with this particular grade. And that was a point for us to think back and say, why did we assign this particular teacher to teach this lesson? Because she's good, she's passionate, she has strong values, she cares about kids, she's ticking all the right boxes. But that's not the age group that she wants to be comfortable with. So at the end of the conversation, she said, you know what, I actually find it difficult to adjust with this age group. I'm more comfortable with a lower age group. And that's a point. So when we are assigning, logistically, this is a nightmare. But when we assign teachers to teach classes or when we send them for cover lessons, what is the age group that they are dealing with? Which section of the school are they going to be working with? Is that a familiar area? And while schools have constraints and it is practically impossible to manage these things, and there will be certain extenuating circumstances, by and large, raising the satisfaction quotient for teacher interaction with the student is one way to manage teacher well-being, ensuring that most of the time they have positive interactions with students are found to help in teacher well-being. More research by Bricheno et al., but not something that we want to really go into, except for the fact that teacher autonomy and leadership is really seems to be one area that we can further ask questions about and to assess what we are doing. So what are the questions we're asking ourselves? Hard questions. 2 questions, because I want to speak about 2 examples. I'm aware of time passing and I know we have about 10 minutes. So 2 questions that we really asked ourselves based on conversations are, it is a break here. And it's great to have kids running around in the corridor and in the quadrangle, and it's actually not break, it's their PE class. It's a great sound, so that's the ground sound in the background. So the questions we're asking ourselves are promotions the only way? So this was one question that we asked ourselves. Are promotions the only way? Based on feedback that we get from teachers, we found that there are teachers who want to grow, want to do things differently. We have the most important annual event of the year, our graduation for seniors, happening this Friday. This year, we decided that, okay, we need a completely fresh pair of hands, fresh pair of minds, fresh pair of hands. So an open invitation was sent out to all teachers of the school, anyone who wanted to be a participant and be part of the core team could opt for it. We got ourselves a group of very, very unique individuals, each different thinkers, different subjects. We would probably not have picked them if we were out to choose, but they opted for it. And all of them teachers with several things to do. Needless to say, over the last 1.5 months that we're preparing, the team has come together in a magnificent manner, and we're really looking forward to having a fantastic graduation day. The reason I'm talking about this case study is because of the takeaways that this process had. And I'll come back to, before I go to the takeaways, I'll mention the second example as well, because this summarizes really what we've learned as a process. Are we building competencies? Linking back to the example I mentioned earlier about the most enthusiastic teacher being plied with more and more work, and having an incident some years ago where one particular teacher said that she could not take on more work, and actively looking at how do we develop other leaders, and other teachers coming in saying they wanted to do further. So 2 of our accreditations, our CIS, that is our Council of International School Accreditation process, and the Round Square accreditation process, are completely led by non-SLT teachers. These are senior teachers, but they're not SLT. And in fact, they are advising the SLT teachers, all staff members on the entire process of working towards accreditation. Why are these 2 case studies being talked about today? Because we thought we were just empowering teachers, giving them something different to do. But it turns out there are more lessons in this to learn than just empowerment. One is choice builds self-efficacy. So opening this out to teachers, asking people to choose their tasks and choose what they need to do, seems to give open doors to them where they are able to try out things, try things that they're interested in, and builds confidence. Choice is key. Collaboration remains the key. Through our interaction with the teachers, with both teams, we found that what works at the end of the day is a hero team. Even if you want to empower a teacher, the teacher must also be taught to how to do, must be given opportunities for collaboration. So for teacher well-being, the more collaborative opportunities that can be given to teachers, the better it will build their own sense of unity and sense of connection. The third thing that we observed from this is that enthusiasm can sometimes scramble communication, which meant that the communication, so to elaborate upon this, we had a very enthusiastic group of teachers. They were all doing a number of things and each was sharing with one another. And we did reach a bit of a deadlock about 3 weeks ago. So we had a we sat them down at a meeting and everybody was talking to each other, and we realized a couple of important things. And this links to a comment that somebody had made. Was information drip fed to them? Was it passed down to them clearly? Was it given to them in time? Was it something that were they made clear of expectations? Did they know from each other what the task expectations were? So sometimes in order for a particular task or an event to really build upon teacher autonomy, to really build upon teacher well-being, what becomes key is communication, clear, consistent and standard communication. What we learned the hard way, some of the challenges that arose and which are important takeaways for us is to check in often. So not only from this particular event, from these two examples, one takeaway really for us for teacher well-being is to keep checking in often. Even the best performing teachers might not be having a great day despite putting on a brave effort. So the more often we check in, the better it is. To manage and put out early fires. For that, really having somebody a close a ear to the ground is very crucial. One of the very prized, very informal departments is a care cell. This was established by one of our very, very senior teachers several years ago. And the role of the care cell is really just to be a sort of place where a teacher can come to for some recourse. It's not necessarily counseling. Sometimes it's just a good cry. Sometimes it's just a good vent. And it was a very senior teacher who launched this care cell. And the objective of the care cell was this: identify early burnout signs, identify early problem signs, and try and manage them before they become worse. And one of the biggest lessons for us as we continue to evaluate our framework, as we continue to evaluate our systems, is avoiding the reporting carousel. One of the teachers in the team managing the event came and I think she was coming to me for the umpteenth time and she said, is there one person whom I can update about this, or do I have to go to several people? And that was a good point, because the more people we have to approach for the completion of a task, the more teacher enthusiasm becomes diluted. And so one of the takeaways for teachers and for building teacher autonomy is to try and give them increased choice and to also avoid reporting, having to report to too many people, because then that will dampen their enthusiasm. So these are some of the questions we're asking ourselves, and through this experience, along with all the wonderful things that we continue to be doing, taking care of teachers through yoga, taking care of their meditation, we do have the occasional snack, we have the joyous movements. But the point that at this point, if we really want to look beyond gimmicks, it's about looking at the culture, keeping what's working in the culture and changing what's not working. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shrikala. That was incredible and very, very insightful. And I think it was simplified. You made teacher well-being really seem simple and also honest, that it's not always perfect and it's not always going to be as straightforward. And as you said very clearly, there are things that can be celebrated and then there are things that can be improved. Do we have any other comments from the audience? Any questions that you'd like to ask Shrikala? Anyone? Any questions? Don't be shy. Don't be afraid to ask. So we have a question. How do you evaluate what is working and what is not working?
Okay, so one of the points over here was the so we started off by using this particular census survey and saying that the data of 46 clearly showed that certain things were not working. But what we do have now is that when we plan a particular event, we do have a little feedback collection from that and ask teachers what teachers actually felt about that event. Did it meet the expectations, and have a bit of follow through about it. For example, about 4 or 5 years ago, we launched a Pounds for Charity. The doctors did share with us that several staff seem to have certain weight issues, and so led by the principal, we launched a Pounds for Charity, and teachers came in. It was voluntary, but a lot of teachers came in, weighed the process, had themselves weighed. It was logged. There were also teachers among us who are also certified nutritionists, so they were assigned mentors. So the teachers who needed to lose weight were assigned mentors with the nutritionists. They worked on a time plan, they set targets, and then they worked towards that. And the mentor would tell them about whether it's, they've lost weight or not. And over a period of 6 months, it was seen that teachers have lost the weight. So a program like that is one example where we were able to say we were able to take care of their well-being. Now, that is something easier because it's about obesity. When it comes to well-being in other ways, whether it's having an impact, are there more? One of the elements that teachers we wanted to, in some years ago in our journey of infusing positive psychology, we started talking a lot about gratitude and grit and so on and so forth. What we have seen over the years is an increase in teacher initiatives. What we have seen is an increase in teachers opting for diverse tasks and portfolios. What we have seen is an increase in teachers taking up different hobbies. So to the question whether we are able to make a direct cause and effect relationship, the answer would be maybe. We're not entirely certain that this is a causal effect, but we have seen a correlation between planned events that we are doing, planned the language that we have, the things that we are doing. We are seeing a correlation between a structured approach and an increase in diversity of output. More teachers want to try different things. In fact, they want to try much more different things. They're asking for more opportunities. So that is one indicator of how we know things are working at our school.
So you're seeing a shift in the way things are being done, and that's how you're able to kind of know that there is some impact in what you're doing.
Yes.
Okay, great. And also we have someone who asked, well, you've got a lot of great initiatives and some of them you've mentioned. What initiatives, what teacher initiatives have you seen really work out of the ones you've tried?
So teacher initiative, okay, what comes immediately to my mind was actually it's the first thing that comes to my mind is something that happened during the pandemic, which is everything was working very well, but a group of teachers got together and called it the Tuesday Jam session. So every Tuesday, they decided that because Tuesday was the day then that we would have our PD sessions and our meeting sessions. And so we decided that we were spending so much time looking at the screen that it's not good for teacher well-being. So a group of teachers got together, and every Tuesday they had a different element and a different theme to it. So the meetings on those days revolved around those themes. So every Tuesday it became something different for the team to look forward, for the teachers to look forward to. So that was a particular teacher initiative that we felt really worked for them. Another thing that works very well is teachers have experts coming in and talking to teachers on issues that are of concern for them. We have a system, the counseling department sent out a feedback form, sent out a form to teachers asking them what they would like to know and from whom. And based on that, we got experts to talk to them. Teachers value it when you talk to them about their physical and mental health. They really value it. So we had I remember we had an ophthalmologist who came in and she just had a 45-minute session. She went on for an hour and a half because those were the kind of sessions the teachers were most appreciative about, because they said, you really care. This shows you really care.
Yeah. And also I'm guessing that this, as you said, teachers get so busy and they spend very little time thinking about themselves and being selfish. So giving them those type of sessions is allowing them to, within their, busy day, spend time to actually think about their physical and mental health, which they normally wouldn't. So yeah, great. Also, wait, sorry, just checking quickly if we had any more questions. Do you think that, what's it called? It's about really having complex initiatives and complicated programs, or is it having the simple, initiatives that are quick to implement? Those are the ones that have most effect. What would you say about this?
So, that's a question that we've often asked ourselves also. The answer is you do need to have both. What you need to have, and this is something that we've realized as I spoke in the webinar, you need to have a strategy. A strategy around a framework is key. Something that evaluates the culture of the school, what's happening at regular fronts, and to keep something going on a regular basis. Like, for example, right now in the last month, our PE department has been organizing a series of fitness sessions for the support staff. So that's happened. It's not a big event. The whole school doesn't know about it, but that's factored into the PE department's term plan. There's another department, another set of teachers who are taking care of other things. So there are things that are quietly being done on a regular basis because that's need based. You do need to have the big initiatives also. Like somebody asked me this the other day, a couple of months ago, why do we need to have a big event? It should be regular. Sometimes big events are necessary. You need to create a splash. It's to give the school community something to look forward to. So I would say we need to work on a strategy, a constant set of plans, evaluating are they working, checking in with different people. From time to time, you also need to do a big event in order to spark more interest.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Shikala, and thank you everyone for joining. I'll just like to say, you've taken time out of your busy day, but just being here is already showing how much you value teacher well-being and well-being as a whole, and being part of this well-being festival. And Shikala, we thank you very much for taking the time out as well. We know how passionate you are about this, and we're really, really grateful. As you all know, once again, this is part of the Wellbeing Festival, which is going to be taking place until the 25th of March. Our next session will be on the 17th of March with Dr. Abdullah and OECD, Andrea Schleiser. I think I've said that correctly, hopefully. So they'll be looking at the OECD insights, the insights that they've given us in regards to well-being. So if you're able to attend that session, which will be from 2 p.m. on the 17th of March. Thank you all, and everything will be posted on our YouTube channel. If there is any session you've missed on the agenda, it will be there on our YouTube channel, and we've emailed the links to the Wellbeing Champions. Thank you all. Have a lovely day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.